Welcome back to a world unlike anything alive today. Millions of years before humans appeared, Earth entered one of its most breathtaking chapters. Forests stretched beyond the horizon, rivers carved endless valleys, and giants ruled the land with quiet strength. This was not only a world of enormous dinosaurs, it was a living planet shaped by forests, water, sunlight, stone, and time. Every creature, from the smallest insect to the tallest sauropod, played a role in the Age of Giants. At sunrise, mist lifted from ancient valleys. Huge silhouettes moved slowly between towering conifers. Their footsteps shook the soft ground, yet their lives were not built on violence. They survived through patience, memory, and balance. The largest animals ever to walk the land did not live apart from nature. They belonged to it. Every branch they reached, every path they opened, and every footprint they left behind changed the world around them. A single herd could reshape an entire forest. Trees opened beneath their reach, sunlight touched the ground, and new plants quickly emerged. What looked like destruction was often the beginning of renewal. Their footprints became small worlds after rain. Water gathered inside deep impressions. Insects arrived, amphibians laid eggs, and tiny aquatic life flourished in places created by the movements of giants. The Earth itself was different then. Continents stood in unfamiliar positions. Volcanoes shaped distant horizons, and warm climates nourished vast forests where life flourished across every layer of the ancient world. No creature lived alone. Rivers connected mountains to floodplains, winds carried pollen across valleys, migrating herds linked distant ecosystems, turning the continent into one continuous living network. The Age of Giants was not simply the age of giant animals. It was the age of giant ecosystems, where every drop of water, every beam of sunlight, and every changing season helped sustain life. As this journey begins, we follow the rhythm of an ancient planet. Forests awaken, rivers flow, herds move across endless plains, and every sunrise opens another chapter in Earth's greatest natural story. Through the morning mist, the sauropods appear. These were the largest land animals ever known. Their size was not made for speed, but for reaching food no other creature could easily touch. Brachiosaurus raised its long neck toward the canopy, feeding high above the forest floor. Fresh conifer branches became a private world of nourishment, far beyond the reach of smaller herbivores. Nearby, Diplodocus followed a different strategy. Its long neck swept across lower vegetation, gathering ferns and shrubs with quiet efficiency. In the same forest, different giants found different ways to survive. This peaceful separation allowed many species to share the same landscape. Some fed high, others low. Some moved through open plains, others along riverbanks. Diversity became the secret of survival. Every movement required precision. A body weighing dozens of tons could not waste energy. Each step, each mouthful, and each migration route reflected millions of years of evolutionary refinement. Young sauropods stayed close to the herd. Protected near the center, they learned where to find food, how to cross rivers, and when to follow the ancient paths of seasonal migration. To modernize, these animals seem impossible, yet most of their days were surprisingly simple. They walked, fed, rested, protected the young, and followed the rhythms of the land. Their enormous bodies demanded vast amounts of vegetation. Every forest became essential to their survival, and every feeding ground carried the marks of generations that had passed before. The forest responded to them. As giants browsed, sunlight reached the ground. Ferns spread quickly, young plants rose, and countless smaller animals found new shelter beneath the open canopy. The giants were not merely inhabitants of the Jurassic world. They were gardeners, architects, and engineers, shaping one of the richest ecosystems Earth has ever known. Beneath their towering bodies, another world was alive. Hidden among ferns, fallen branches, damp soil, and rotting wood, small creatures carried out lives just as important as the giants above. Beetles broke down dead plants into rich soil. Fungi unlocked nutrients from decaying wood. Insects moved through the warm air, and microscopic life nourished the roots of ancient forests. Early mammals moved cautiously through the undergrowth. Small enough to hide beneath roots and fallen leaves, they survived with patience, sharp senses, and the ability to remain almost invisible. Above them, sauropods continued feeding without noticing the busy world below. Yet every leaf they dropped and every trail they opened created new opportunities for hundreds of smaller species. Dragonflies patrolled quiet ponds, spiders stretched delicate webs between low branches, beetles disappeared beneath bark. Life flourished in every direction, often unseen by the giants themselves. The Jurassic Forest functioned like a living machine. Plants captured sunlight, herbivores consumed vegetation, decomposers recycled fallen matter, and rivers carried nutrients through the land. Even the smallest organisms played extraordinary roles. Without insects, fungi, microbes, and plants, the greatest dinosaurs could never have survived. Size alone did not sustain this world. In the Age of Giants, greatness was measured by connection. From the smallest beetle beneath a fern to the tallest sauropod reaching into the canopy, every life helped keep the planet alive. Long before cities or roads, forests ruled the earth. Towering conifers rose above the land while dense carpets of ferns covered the ground below. These ancient woodlands formed the heart of the Jurassic world. Every tree was more than food. Roots held the soil, branches sheltered animals, and fallen trunks became nurseries for new life. The forest was not a collection of trees, it was a living community. Morning light filtered through the canopy in golden beams. Dew clung to leaves, insects filled the air, and distant ancestors of birds stirred quietly among the branches. Hidden streams wound beneath the trees, carrying cold mountain water into the valleys. These waterways nourished plants, sustained wildlife, and eventually joined the larger rivers that shaped the continent. The rivers never stopped moving. Season after season, they carried minerals from mountains, spread fertile sediment across floodplains, and carved new channels through the ancient land. Where fresh water gathered, life flourished. Giant herbivores came to drink, amphibians bred in quiet pools, fish moved beneath submerged branches, and insects danced above the surface. The forest and river depended on one another. Trees protected riverbanks from erosion, while flowing water nourished the roots that held the forest together. Even fallen leaves had purpose. Carried downstream, they fed insects, fungi, and microscopic organisms before becoming part of the soil that supported another generation of forests. To the giants, rivers were familiar landmarks. Generation after generation followed these waterways, guided not by maps, but by instincts refined through millions of years. At sunrise beside the river, the true power of the Jurassic world becomes clear. It did not come from giants alone. It flowed through every stream, every tree, and every living connection. Beyond the forests lay another kingdom. Vast Jurassic seas stretched toward the horizon, hiding a world where marine reptiles ruled beneath the waves and life flourished in endless blue. Sunlight reached only the upper ocean. There, drifting plankton captured energy from the sun, forming the foundation of a food web that supported creatures of astonishing size. Graceful marine reptiles moved through coastal waters with powerful flippers. They searched patiently for schools of fish, proving that survival beneath the sea often depended on precision. In deeper waters, powerful predators patrolled ancient oceans. Their strength was immense, yet even they depended on healthy fish populations, stable currents, and thriving plankton. Reefs, shellfish, ammonites, and countless smaller organisms transformed the seafloor into a vibrant landscape. The giants drew attention, but hidden communities sustained the entire marine ecosystem. The sea was always moving. Tides reshaped coastlines, currents carried nutrients across vast distances, and storms mixed surface waters with the deep. Along the shoreline, land and sea became one system. Rivers delivered fresh water and nutrients, while coastal wetlands sheltered species able to live between two worlds. Whether beneath the waves or above the forest canopy, the same truth remained. Every ecosystem depended on another, forming a planet balanced by countless living relationships. Long before dinosaurs walked these lands, Earth's restless interior shaped their world. Beneath the surface, forces lifted mountains, opened valleys, and created landscapes where life could flourish. Ancient volcanoes rose above the horizon. Sometimes they slept for thousands of years before awakening again. Even in quiet times, their minerals enriched the surrounding soil. Rivers carried fragments of mountains toward the lowlands. Grain by grain, layer by layer, they built fertile floodplains where giant herbivores would gather in astonishing numbers. The cliffs around these valleys told silent stories in stone. Each layer preserved traces of floods, ash, changing climates, and generations of life long gone. Nothing was truly permanent. Wind-polished rock, rain-carved channels, and rivers reshaped the land. Nature never hurried, yet nothing escaped time. A footprint pressed into soft sediment could become part of Earth's memory. Some vanished within days, others hardened into stone, waiting millions of years to speak again. Mountains, forests, and rivers were never separate worlds. Rain falling on distant peaks eventually nourished valleys far away, connecting the land through the endless movement of water. Even destruction brought renewal. Volcanic ash enriched tired soils, landslides opened new habitats, and shifting rivers created wetlands where life quickly returned. To the giants, the land may have seemed eternal, yet beneath every step, the continent continued moving, preparing a future no living creature could imagine. The Age of Giants was built by animals, but also by geology. Stone, fire, water, and time created the stage for one of Earth's most magnificent chapters. Every life, no matter how enormous, follows the same path. Even the greatest giants would one day slow down, leaving the next generation to continue the journey. An aging Brachiosaurus moved with less confidence than before. Each step was slower, each pause longer. Yet its quiet presence still guided younger members of the herd. Nearby, juveniles watched and learned. Without words, they inherited knowledge of safe river crossings, fresh feeding grounds, and sheltered valleys used across countless generations. Time was marked not only by endings, but by growing trees, changing landscapes, and young dinosaurs slowly taking the place of older giants. When one giant disappeared, the forest did not fall silent. New plants reached for sunlight, insects returned to fallen branches, and smaller creatures found new opportunities. Nothing was truly lost. Nutrients returned to the soil, feeding another generation of trees, which would one day feed another generation of giants. The Jurassic world was built on renewal. Every ending became the beginning of countless new stories, reminding us that survival belonged to the living system as a whole. Young sauropods crossed valleys once walked by older generations. The journey felt new to them, but the Earth had witnessed this rhythm again and again. The strength of the Age of Giants was never the life of one dinosaur. It lived in forests, rivers, mountains, and generations connected by time. Across this ancient world, nothing stood still forever. Seasons changed, landscapes evolved, and life continued its quiet promise to renew, adapt, and begin again. As seasons transformed the land, the giants began one of nature's greatest spectacles. Across plains and floodplains, enormous herds moved together in slow migration. These journeys were never random. Rivers, valleys, and feeding grounds formed invisible pathways remembered through instinct. Long before maps existed, the giants knew the land. A migrating herd could stretch for miles. Adults led the way, while younger animals remained protected near the center, learning routes their descendants would one day follow. Every step carried enormous weight. Trails opened through dense vegetation, clearings appeared beneath trees, and sunlight reached the forest floor where new plants began to grow. The giants were more than travelers. Their migrations reshaped the land, influenced riverside vegetation, created feeding opportunities, and connected distant ecosystems across the continent. After seasonal rains, enormous footprints became temporary pools. Insects arrived, amphibians laid eggs, and tiny creatures transformed these shallow spaces into miniature worlds. High above, pterosaurs watched the moving herds from the morning sky. From above, the giants looked like living rivers flowing through forests and open plains. Migration was not a race. It followed the rhythm of Earth itself, changing seasons, growing vegetation, fresh food, and dependable water. Generation after generation repeated these journeys. Individual dinosaurs came and went, but the migration routes endured as part of the living memory of the landscape. In the Age of Giants, movement meant survival. Every journey connected forests to rivers, mountains to plains, and one generation to the next. Although many species shared the same land, they rarely needed to compete directly. Each evolved to use different foods, habitats, and parts of the landscape. Brachiosaurus reached the highest branches. Diplodocus gathered lower vegetation. Stegosaurus browsed among ferns. Together, they transformed the same forest without exhausting it. Along riverbanks, many species gathered peacefully. Some drank, others fed, and others continued migration. These shared spaces revealed balance rather than constant conflict. Every creature played a role. Giants shaped the canopy, smaller herbivores managed new growth, insects pollinated ancient plants, and fungi returned nutrients to the soil. Even the sky was part of the network. Pterosaurs soared above forests and rivers, watching habitats connect through water, vegetation, and movement. No single species could create this world alone. The strength of the Jurassic ecosystem came from countless relationships, many so subtle they passed unnoticed. When sunlight reached clearings opened by giants, fresh plants emerged. Soon, smaller animals followed, using opportunities created by creatures many times their size. The river united them all. From microscopic organisms beneath the water to towering dinosaurs along its banks, every life depended on the same continuous flow. The Age of Giants reminds us that nature's greatest achievement was not domination, it was cooperation, built over millions of years of relationships. Looking across the ancient landscape, the true wonder was not one dinosaur. It was the harmony of an entire world where every life supported another. Before dawn, the forest was already awake. Cool air drifted between ancient trees, and the first sounds of morning echoed through the valley. Dew gathered on ferns, branches, and ancient leaves. Each droplet reflected fading stars, turning the forest floor into a quiet field of shimmering light. Morning did not arrive all at once. It touched the tallest trees first, then slowly descended toward the hidden world beneath the giants. As sunlight warmed the canopy, insects resumed their endless work. Tiny wings filled the air, and the forest exchanged the stillness of night for the rhythm of day. Hidden streams caught the first golden light, carrying mountain water toward distant floodplains. Their movement connected the landscape before the herds began to travel. Far above, warm air lifted pterosaurs into the sky. They drifted on invisible currents, watching the forests awaken from a world of air and distance. The giants moved only when needed. There was no urgency, no wasted motion. Every step reflected a world where energy meant survival. As long necks reached into the canopies, sunlight poured through new gaps in the branches. Below, plants and animals responded almost instantly. Morning belonged to every creature. Herbivores browsed, insects pollinated, rivers flowed, and the forest welcomed another ordinary day that was anything but ordinary. By midday, sunlight covered the valley. Shadows shortened beneath towering trees, while gentle winds carried the scent of fresh vegetation across the ancient land. Many animals slowed during the warmest hours. Shade protected life beneath the canopy, while insects continued their tireless work among leaves, bark, and fallen wood. The giants understood the rhythm of the day. Feeding, resting, and traveling followed patterns repeated for countless generations beneath the changing light of the sun. Along quiet streams, fresh footprints remained in soft mud. For a brief moment, Earth recorded another passing herd before water slowly erased the evidence. Clouds drifted above the canopy, casting moving shadows across forests and floodplains. Even light became part of the ever-changing landscape. Every gust of wind carried pollen, seeds, and moisture across the valley. Life traveled not only by land and water, but through the atmosphere itself. The afternoon seemed peaceful, yet the ecosystem never rested. Beneath leaves, beside streams, and inside the soil, thousands of unseen lives continued their work. As the sun crossed the sky, the forest prepared for evening. Shadows lengthened, temperature softened, and the rhythm of life shifted once again. Warm light covered the valley in gold. The giants continued feeding without haste, conserving energy while the surrounding ecosystem remained quietly alive. Beside rivers, stegosaurus browsed among dense ferns. Dragonflies hovered above the water, fish disturbed the surface, and ripples shimmered in the afternoon light. Deep in the forest, shade protected hidden communities. Mosses stayed cool. Fungi thrived in damp soil, and insects recycled the forest floor. rising warm air carried pterosaurs across the sky. Without flapping their wings, they crossed enormous distances by trusting invisible currents beneath them. From above, herds appeared as small pieces of a greater mosaic. Forests, rivers, meadows, and wetlands formed one vast living pattern. As sunset approached, rivers reflected the sky like liquid gold. Giant herbivores paused near familiar resting grounds, while the air cooled around them. The first colors of sunset transformed the forest into amber and copper. Ancient trees stood like silent guardians beneath the lowering sun. Along the coast, waves rolled onto ancient shores. Above the cliffs, pterosaurs returned to rest, ending another day beneath the Jurassic sky. The forest began changing shifts. Day-active insects faded into silence while nocturnal voices prepared to take their place. The giants sensed evening before darkness arrived. Their movements slowed, their feeding became less frequent, and familiar resting places drew closer. Sunset was not an ending, it was a transition. The moment when one community rested and another awakened beneath the same ancient sky. Night arrived gently. Moonlight filtered through towering conifers, replacing the warmth of day with silver light that transformed the familiar landscape. The forests never truly slept. Insects called from hidden places, breezes moved through branches, and distant rivers continued their endless song. Tiny mammals stepped from their shelters under cover of darkness. They searched among fallen leaves, alert to every sound in the cool night air. The giants rested beneath the stars. Their enormous bodies became silent silhouettes among the trees, their slow breathing blending with the rhythm of the forest. Before dawn, the eastern horizon began to brighten. Mist drifted above rivers, dew sparkled across leaves, and the ancient earth prepared to begin again. The Age of Giants was not only a story of size, it was a story of balance, connection, and life itself. The giants are gone, but through fossils, science, and imagination, their world still speaks.